All right, next question is from Ratty, and it's an interesting question, but also it's a little spicy, and I think we need to clear something up a little bit. I'm interested to see what you say. It says, are we entering a new era where it is okay to help kids buy homes? Or should I at least plan for that for my kids? I know you advise against financially supporting your children.
Well, I mean, that sounds cold.
I was like, that's a little harsh.
Why do you hate kids so
I think
much,
you need to
Brian?
respond to this.
Look at it. First of all, here's the great thing about being a financial advisor as well is I've worked with so many people from different professions, different cultures, and I think that like I've worked with clients that culturally they don't deal with debt, and it's not uncommon. It's a very common practice that the adults will help their children with the first homes with the full understanding that when the adults are at retirement, if they don't have it, the kids, because they got the house. So I don't think so. I want to be careful that we don't paint with such a broad brush because, and by the way, no parent who has a child looks at that and goes, man, and looks at them with like, I gotta get mine first before I hook you up, baby. I mean, nobody does that. You love your kids. We're just saying that there's a balance there, is that all these things are the colors of life, is that as you have children and other things, you are going to have incremental decisions you have to make that are hard, where you say, what do I prioritize next with my next dollar? And some of them are tough because, you know, we've talked about your kids can get a student loan, but you can't get a retirement loan. Nobody does those. I mean, so there's difficult things to navigate there. But I think to just say that we're kind of harsh is you got to be careful about that. So I kind of set the table for you. I want to hear what you have to say.
I think it's interesting. Here's how the question was framed. Are we entering a new era where it's okay to help kids buy homes? No, not at all. But because it's always been okay for parents to help kids buy homes, but you have to define, what does that mean? I know that I have tons of friends whose mom and dad helped them and said, hey, we're going to help you with a down payment. We're going to give you $10,000. We're going to give you $20,000 so that you can start your life in this way. And it's going to be, and you know what those kids did? They took it and they made wise decisions and they saved up and they bought the house and they're paying the mortgage and now they're saving and they're doing wonderful things. And I would argue that their parents helping them in that station of life was fine. It didn't hurt them. It wasn't a negative thing. What we do not like seeing and what we get so nervous about is where parents provide what Dr. Stanley dubbed economic outpatient care to kids, where you are essentially subsidizing the lifestyle your kids are able to live. Subsidizing and helping are two very, very different things. If you've done a great job financially and you're in a place where you could help your kid with a down payment or you could help them get a lower interest rate by some other creative means on how they're going to borrow for their mortgage, that's different than, hey, I'm paying my kids' bills. Hey, my kid's still on my cell phone. Hey, my kid, I pay for their car. Hey, my kid. That is a very, very different thing. And so, Ratty, what you have to figure out is, do you know your kids and you know how well they are positioned to handle resources? Because really the approach is two-pronged. Are you in the financial situation where your financial situation can sustain helping your kids? If you're not, I would argue that it does not make sense to sacrifice your financial well-being to try to prop your kids up. If you are, then you have to answer the question, have I trained my kids well enough that if I offer this assistance, if I do help them with this, is it truly just going to be something that is a leg for them to stand up on that will continue to push them forward? Or is it something that's going to give them a crutch to where they're never going to learn to walk on their own? And you as the parent have to discern the difference in those two things.
Well, I think that noble goals, education, weddings, house down payment.
Sure.
Those are what I kind of describe as noble goals. But you have to, because there's nothing. Those are moments in time and big life things that you're trying to plan for because you're a good financial mutant. But you've got to still create scarcity in your kids' lives so they don't turn up to be horrible people.
Yep.
I mean, that's the reality. That's what Dr. Stanley's talking about, and that's why I love As soon as your kids start making money for themselves, prime the pump by giving them matching funds for saving for retirement. Also, when they get to 16, don't go buy them the new car. Go make them pay for half of it. That's what I did with my daughter, and I like that thought process, because if you give your kids the life you live from zero, what do they have to grow into? The hedonic treadmill and all the things. Because I think about my wife and I when we went on our honeymoon. It was the first time I had gone international. And I mean, I'm sure that we think that this place is a dump now. But at the time, we were like, holy cow, can you believe? I mean, and I think about like when we got our first new car, and we just kept, and it's all the first. And those things build over time. Whereas if you give your kids a life when they're teenagers, and then when they get out on their own, they took a step back,
doesn't set them up for success.
That's where it gets a little scary. So just be careful. Nothing wrong with noble goals, but make sure you're creating good human beings for the long term with your success. Put some scarcity in there. There's nothing wrong with putting scarcity in their lives, so they actually know how to handle the tool of money and are good with it and actually create fruit and are builders over the long term versus just becoming consumers of life.